Games weren't better in the past, you just can't accept that you're unable to enjoy things like you used to when you were young. You may call it nostalgia, or vehemently vow that games were made with more care or dedication in the past, but it's just not true. Objectively, Oblivion is not better than Skyrim. Vice City is not better than San Andreas. However, your enjoyment of those things back in the day was better. We need to acknowledge this feeling for what it is, a yearning for the past because life was easier to enjoy as a child, and having fun and finding joy in the things you used to love becomes more and more difficult as you grow older. Adulthood sucks. We're all striving for that feeling we used to feel, buying a new game and sinking 10 straight hours into it because it made you feel elated. We're all trying to chase that high, that's why we're all still adult gamers. Edit. Maybe I didn't make it clear enough in my post, I'm not saying old games outright suck. I'm saying that we attribute our love of old games to nostalgia, but really we treasure them probably because life was easier to enjoy in childhood than it is now. Peace. While partially true, at least games would release in a fully functional state instead of the release now, fix later mindset that seems to be gripping the games industry today. The Oblivion story is much better than Skyrim. To be fair, microtransactions have decimated the quality of many modern games and cannibalized content from single-player games/aspects. That change in the industry is so drastic, good quality games are a rare find, especially Rockstar multiplayer games. For single-player, I think games are better now than ever. Most of the complaints I hear about practices in the industry are easy enough to avoid with a minimum of research. Hey, remember when you bought a game, and all you had to do was pop it in and play, no internet required? Remember when we got complete games when we bought them? I disagree. In many cases, instead of adding on to what was great, every time they make an advancement, they take away something that worked. They increase the graphics but take away from the story and gameplay. Take for example the NBA 2K games. NBA 2K11 was great because of the use of the analog stick. You could play as a lot of the legends. You were still able to edit rosters, character attributes, and play through a season controlling more than one team. You could still choose to simulate a game or play it out. All of the subsequent 2K games took away those elements for better graphics and online play. Now I don't even think you have a season more anymore, you just have the my career and maybe control one team at a time. The old way was much better. Fallout 4 sucked hard. This cuts deep, my friend. I play a lot of both retro and new games, so here is my take. What old games do worse? Crappier graphics. Crappier sound. Crappier frame rates, but not always, depending on the game. Controls were more limited. If there was a game-breaking bug, party over. Saving your game was not always so clean in the cloud. More limited or non-existent multiplayer, with some excellent exceptions such as StarCraft and Unreal Tournament. For games with network multiplayer, bandwidth, and lag were always an issue. I find digital downloads much more convenient than going to the store. What old games do better? Nowadays lower hardware requirements and much cheaper. No freemium, DLC, or season pass BS. You bought the game once and you owned it forever. No always online BS. If the internet went down, you could still play, locally anyway. Games 99.9% of the time worked on release. Pre-ordering meant something. Now game companies treat the first few weeks as an extended public beta and release patches later to fix bugs and crashes. It is much easier to mod old games. I could list more, but this is what I can think of off the top of my head now. There's pros and cons. Graphics and immersion are constantly improving, but I miss when you could just plug a game in and go without having to sit through downloads, updates, 16 developer logo screens, a Ken Burns documentary, and 86 tutorials. Can't argue with that. We will never enjoy like we used to. I miss being a young gamer and the perspective it brings. One game that I replayed recently was Crysis. Still love that game. I don't know, I'm hunkered down at my parents' place to help them and they are playing NES games from the Mini and I think they are a lot more fun than a lot of the games out today. I was very surprised by this. Ahem, Star Wars. I think we can all agree that Fallout New Vegas was better than Fallout 4. There is that, I did have more wonder as a child. But games did also become corporate earnings tools. The people that make them now are suits that run focus test groups, release vertical slices with pre-alpha plastered all over it and don't much care to play what they're making themselves. This lead to more and more online games as a service where instead of standalone titles and expansion packs, they slowly drip in content to the same game. In order to maximize profit per share from microtransaction sales. I can't write off all those changes as just nostalgia googles. Yes they were, they had 4-player split screen, which almost none do now. Once you learn how to find enjoyment in things as an adult, life becomes so much better. But damn if it isn't tricky to figure out. I 100% agree that general quality of life has gotten better in games. I own several consoles including an N64, GameCube and a Wii, and games these days are less janky for sure. I also play tons of new and old games and generally I have more fun in older games. For example, my favorite Total Wars are Medieval and Rome 2 and I don't enjoy Three Kingdoms, but there are still great games being released, Red Dead 2, DMC5 etc. and I'm really looking forward to Cyberpunk. I think it's more an issue people can't look at games objectively. Yes, Skyrim is objectively a better game than Oblivion in many ways, and Grand Theft Auto 5 is objectively the best in the franchise, however that doesn't mean all new games are good and all old games are bad by any means. Ouch, my heart. It's definitely a feeling many of us have experienced. It's okay to have that nostalgia and reminisce on the past, but if one ends up an infinite loop of it, they'll perpetually be disappointed. It's tough to overcome, but at least making an attempt to embrace newer cultures can have a positive impact on how you view things. I only read the title. We had nothing to compare them to in the past, therefore they were the best. But I see where you're coming from and nothing just apply to games. You could replace games with things. You're 100% right. I think people just attach to the memories and the way they felt back then, as well as discovering a genre or an in-game universe for the first time. A lot of games these days are iterations, so I think the sense of discovery is less, but they are far more expansive and technically impressive.